Why, hello. It's been a while since I've done this format in which I take a look inside a book. And this book, Moon and Serpent, Bumper Book of Magic by Alan Moore and Steve Moore, no relation, as they always say. This came out, I think, last October, within a week of his novel, The Great When. And I reviewed The Great When at the time because I got through that book in a very short amount of time, like maybe 4 or 5 days. This book I did not get through in a short amount of time. It took me months to get through because I probably could have gotten through it faster, but I chose to kind of slow down and take my time with it. And I think maybe that's a better way to do it. But maybe you want to dive through it and read it a lot faster. It is a long book, 350 pages. You know, I don't have the physical book, but I think it's a pretty hefty tome. And I can say that it's not quite a graphic novel. It's not quite a novel. It's not quite a nonfiction book. So what is it? It's a magic book, I guess. Not magic like, you know, rabbits and hats and that kind of stuff, but the other kind of magic. A lot of different artists involved with this, including Kevin O'Neill, who you probably know if you've read Alan Moore's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but a lot of other collaborators that Alan Moore's worked with before, Rick Veitch, John Coulthard, etc. So, what is this book exactly? It does have some comics. It's not a comic, but it's. I would hesitate very much to call it a graphic novel. This opening art section I liked quite a bit. This is probably the most comic-like in terms of narrative that you'll find in the book, because there are other comic sections, but they're a little more like narrated by this narrator voice. This is not. So wonderful art throughout, though. It's a beautiful looking book. This is kind of a more the lives of the great enchanters, which we get more often through the book, which has different people throughout history that are magicians and looking at them. So I should mention, though, the book is kind of a fugue in that you'll have these running themes and running styles and running kind of characters that run in different parts of the book, but then it'll take a break and leave them for a while and then come back to them. So this section, which is a lot of the book, is just text, is basically Alan Moore, I assume, is doing most of the writing, but I really don't know. Steve Moore is no longer alive, but I think they supposedly discussed the book a lot, and I'm not quite clear who actually did most of the writing, but it feels to me most of it is Alan Moore's writing. But don't hold me to that. So you get a lot of little things like this. Like, how do you use magic? What is basically their premise is that magic is any kind of creativity and artistic creation. So why do we even need to call it magic? Well, Alan Moore incorporates a lot of the kind of traditional magic ideas of like Kabbalah and the tarot and things like that, but he also includes other things. So this section, which is really well illustrated, I like the art, is called the Soul, and it's a novella, I guess you would call it. And it's kind of there's a character she's like a model, and like in the not Victorian, maybe Edwardian era. Anyways, like early 20th century, she's like dallying with magic, doing mushrooms for the first time, things like that Alan Moore is discussing in the other section of the book. So this is what I'm talking about, it being a fugue. Things that are discussed, that character will actually experience, and we kind of see in her a magician being initiated into the magical world. So it does touch on a lot of different things that some of my other favorite magic books. I like magic, but I don't like. I tend to kind of shy away from the books that are like all about these really rigid systems, which to me are not that far removed from religion when you get down to it. So I kind of like kind of the more, I don't know if I want to call it chaos magic, because Alan Moore like throws a lot of shade on chaos magic in the book. I think mainly because he's still kind of perpetuating his war with Grant Morrison. So um, I think some of my favorite parts in the book, though, are where he does talk about Kabbalah and the tarot, especially the Kabbalah, which he touches on it a lot in Promethea, that comic series, but this is just nonfiction. So there's no fiction in this section. It's just straight up ideas about the tarot and how you might use it in your magical enterprises. This comic section, The Adventures of Alexander, it touches on his, I guess, the patron saint of the book, Lycon, which I guess this Alexander guy, there's a lot of myths about him. I think we know about him mainly through the writings of Lucian. But anyway, so it goes back to the soul, a lot of different sections, but essentially it's, history, theory, and some fictions, and some these things to do on a rainy day, these different techniques that you might want to incorporate in your magical practice. Yeah, so it's, like I said, a very dense book. I think there's about 50 of these lives of the great enchanters, and it includes things like William Burroughs, who, Burroughs never called himself a magician, but or maybe it did, I don't know, but his type of magic is, to me, more interesting than a lot of quote unquote magicians, like the guys with the robes and secret societies. Which, yeah, so take it as you will. So let's see. I'm going to jump ahead because I think a lot of it is just what we've already seen. The section on the tarot is pretty good, pretty detailed. I've used the tarot quite a bit myself, so I enjoyed that. And I think, like most magic books, or a lot of like people in the occult, they'll kind of slight other systems and attack other systems and explain why things are. I mean, that's just if you take it as art, then that's what artists do, is they'll attack other artists and other systems and other ideas because they want to put theirs on the pedestal and make their ideas the best. So I understand that. Like every magic book I've seen has done something similar, and overall, I think this is a pretty good magic book. It's not perfect, but I don't think any magic book needs to be perfect, and I don't think you really need like a huge collection of magic books. You can probably just get by with 5 or something, or under 10, and as long as I mean, even just one book, this book, you could spend your life exploring it and riffing on the ideas and doing your own things. So I think that's the key idea with magic, is just you got to just do it and try things rather than read a million books about it. It's just pick a few books that you like and go from there. Even if they're not even called magic books, use the books available to you that interest you and that can incorporate into some kind of magical system, even if it's something that you created. And then the final section kind of talks about the history of Alan Moore's his musical seances that he's done. I've heard most of these. I think they're pretty interesting, and how that kind of led to this creation of this Moon and Serpent Society. What the Moon and Serpent actually is, what is its significance in the terms of his magical system, and so on and so on. I think that last part is probably more just like a model of like what an artistic possibility, not a template to follow, but just like an idea to get you started on your own, taking your art in its own direction, your own system of whatever it may be. And that's the book. So like I said, it's a pretty dense book that you probably don't want to race through. Probably would want to just like, open it now and then, try some things, incorporate with them. Like this kind of stuff, like the correspondence tables, and it's probably like the least interesting to me. It's like, it's okay, but it's like, I don't feel any great attraction to memorizing all this. But some people will, and some people, maybe I will too in the future. Who knows? But right now, I'm not really interested in it. There's some magical alphabets, and yeah, for me, like, I think I'm more interested in language. I'm interested in art and science, but I think, studying science and math is, for me, like one of the aspects of magic that I think the more science you learn, the more you can see. I think a lot of what people think of as magic is just, back in the day when people were mostly illiterate, there were these guys that had these books and they could read things and they could spell things. And that's what spells are. It's like understanding all these ideas that they can carry in their heads. And that would allow them to do things and work things in the world that were impossible to the illiterate masses. So I think nowadays learning science, computer programming is like a lot of the edge of where magic could be. But there's a million different directions to take magic, and if you do feel compelled to get a magic wand and wear robes, that's fine. Do what you want and enjoy it. Overall, this is a pretty good book. I think, along with I've mentioned Robert Anton Wilson a lot. His books are great, very practical magic stuff that you can do right away. Uh, the Teachings of Don Carlos is a pretty good magic book. That Disinfo Book of Magic, I can't remember the name of it. It's called like everything. I don't know. Anyways, there's a lot of magical resources out here, but this is a pretty good place to start. So check it out.